I remember it was cold that day. I'd been awake most of the night, hadn't gotten much sleep, been praying, thinking, hoping. When morning came, I got up quickly, threw on my work clothes, grabbed my Bible and my stole, and I headed to the hospital. I was fairly new at this whole pastor thing at the time. I hadn't done many hospital visits, at least not as a pastor. I mean, I'd done my share as a hospital chaplain. I'd been at the hospital a lot. But this time, it was different. This wasn't a cold call. I knew who I was going to see. And in a sense, I kind of knew what I was going to see. Any of you from the Midwest? You know how a storm starts, don't you? Those big storms that you see in the Great Plains. You see it building up in the distance. And those of you who have seen it know that it's amazing and terrifying at the same time. The horizon grows dark and menacing. The winds seem to still, almost in anticipation of this oncoming maelstrom. You can see it brooding and building, and it's coming, and it's bearing down on you. You're powerless before it. And before long, the rumble of the thunder, it reaches you, and it shakes you to your core. And the lightning cracks across the sky. It's coming. It's almost here. I felt that kind of fear and anticipation as I drove to the hospital this day. I was terrified. I parked in the parking lot and I prayed in my car and I prayed again and I prayed again and I built up enough confidence, enough nerve to finally make my way into the hospital. I mustered enough faith to be a pastor, to be the pastor I was called to be in that moment. Didn't know what I'd find when I arrived. Didn't know what I would see. I didn't know what I would do. Even left my Bible in the car. Can you believe it? Can you picture the disciples in their boat from our story this morning? Scrambling around, bailing out water, doing everything that they can to stay afloat. I mean, here's a bunch of guys, a lot of these guys, they're seasoned fishermen they've weathered storms before. And even they're terrified. They're worried something's going to happen to them. They're going to perish under the barrage of this tempest in their midst. They know they've lost control. Jesus, how can you sleep through this? We are perishing. Have you ever had that prayer before? I have. Many times, actually. That prayer on your lips and in your heart when you didn't have the words to say it. Where are you, Jesus? We're suffering. We're perishing. Where are you? Such was my prayer as I entered the hospital room. It was dark. It was cold. It was sterile. And the storm, the storm. The storm was raging. The howls, the cries of pain and anguish and desolation reverberated off the walls. Nurses moved in and out, to and fro in the room, doing everything they can to help to heal, to care. That's what they do. But the storm raged on. I wanted to run. I wanted to go away. I didn't want to be there. What should I do? But there was no choice, not really. There was no choice in that moment. I walked in and I took the hand of a friend. A hand that gripped mine like a vice. That seemed to hold on for dear life. As if it fell beneath the waves and the wind that would never grasp anything ever again. And I met a face that I recognized. And a face that in turn recognized mine. But a face that could hardly focus amidst the continual spasms of pain that he endured. Words were not adequate. Prayers, silent. Hope, somewhere else. And the storm raged, and it raged. Where are you, Jesus? Wake up. We are perishing. We are dying. Wake up. Where are you? For 3 hours, I stood holding a hand, touching a shoulder, offering a few words. I listened to cries of anguish and hopelessness and countless requests to just die. Why won't I just die? You know, our lives are lived not just in the sunlight, but in the darkest storms of the world. Tempests so powerful that all evidence of the light seems extinguished in them. And it seems that sometimes God is nowhere to be found. Wake up. But the profession in our hearts as Christians is that Jesus weathers these storms with us. When the disciples ask for help, Jesus doesn't hesitate in our story. Immediately, he's awake, he's standing, he's shouting to the storm, "Be silent, be still." And as the story goes, the storm immediately stops. It doesn't hesitate, it stops completely. But I wonder if those words are meant for Jesus' disciples too. And meant for you and for me. Still and silent your fear, your terror, your hopelessness. Be still. Be silent. I have and will never give up on you. Know that I am in this storm with you. I am not asleep. I'm not passive. Hold on to me. Hold on tightly. But my grip will never let you go. See the light. Feel the warmth. It's here. I am with you. I haven't had a day more difficult as a pastor than that day years ago. To see my friend suffer so much and to see him lose hope completely. It felt like death. But I look back on that day and I see it more clearly than ever before. Jesus was there. Jesus was not there in the form of some miraculous healing, but there in the darkest part of this storm with a ferocity of love that the world has rarely known. God's love. And I, terrified, not knowing what I was doing, I was a part of that love in that moment. You know, as Christians, we're not free from the storms of life. And we're assured that we'll be thrown into one after another. And the truth is, these storms of life can cause harm. We don't always come out unscathed. We often come out with scars and wounds that require healing. Yet, in each and every storm, Jesus is there, holding our hand, grasping our shoulder, speaking words of love and encouragement, and reminding us again and again and again what God is up to even now, even when we can't see it. The promise is life, true life with God forever, to be fully us. And no storm can ever take that away, no matter how violent and how powerful it might be. As Christians, we aren't immune from the storms of life, but we endure with them, full of hope, knowing that Jesus is there with us. Jesus in whom God's future, which we know and we long for, where all things are made right, where there is beauty and fullness of spirituality. God's future and God's present come together in the fullness of love. We have hope that that's not only going to happen, that it's happening right now. And Jesus, who makes it possible, is there with us. Nothing can take that away. So friends, life storms are going to come. They're going to come. And there's no easy way around them sometimes. But I promise you, there is light there. There is someone there to embrace you in that time, in that moment. Amen.